Alright, so the Smart Pro is a pretty large printer. It's very tall and quite deep, but not very wide, which is great. And it definitely looks quite special here sitting on the table. So let's start from the top. We got the spool holder and it clips on pretty simply, just like that. So we got it lined up about center of the printer, and this is where our filament detector is, and it plugs in right here on the side, and we have an arrow of the direction that the filament flows. So it's going to go through here and then down into the extruder. And on the back side, the wire comes out here and then it goes down all the way to the bottom. So one of the main features up here is this light, and it's a pretty nice light bar, quite thin and looks really good. And we have an on and off switch here, and the only thing you have to remember about this is not to grab it by accident. If you do grab your printer by the top, as you would easily break this off. So I like how all of our channels are nice and smooth, looks very clean. So flipping around to the back, we are tethered with this belt between the two elite screws, and these brackets here are plastic, but we do have bearings inside, which is nice. And then we have this metal bracket here that connects to the support rods that go to the bottom. So again, you can see where our wires run through the channels on the back all the way down, and this is where they all plug in. So our lead screws go through these brackets. Everything's metal. We've got brass bushing. Same thing on this side, except here we have this bracket that holds our wire that goes to the hot end, and then it goes down around into the base. This is where we connected our X-axis motor and end stop switch. And looking at the back of the hot end, this is our strain relief bracket there, the wheels, and our adjustable wheel here on the bottom. And you guys can see underneath here our nozzle there, which does look like it's stainless steel. Our heat block, it is insulated with the silicone sock. And this is our parts cooling fan here that blows underneath. So going down from there, we got our dual Z-axis motors, our Y-axis rails, the belt, the Y-axis end stop switch, and this is the motor. Going to the very bottom, our cable that comes out from the base to the bed, and it is strain relieved. We can see here the support rods installed with the washer on both sides. And then here we have the power input port. It is fused with an on and off switch. Here we have the manufacturing label that tells us basic information, including the weight of the printer, which is 14 kilograms. Alright, so going back up front, let's look at our hot end here. So this is where our cable comes in. It is strain relieved. You do have to take this bracket apart to install it. And here we have the Sprite extruder, the top of it, release arm. This is where we feed in the filament. And here it also looks like that's stainless steel instead of brass, which is quite nice. Got a gear here, we can see one is turning. Our stepper motor for the extruder. These are the 3 bolts that we installed this whole piece in. And if you guys see that hole there in the middle with the bolt, that's the adjustment for the tension on the extruder. Here we can see the heat break, power coming to the heat block. Very nice metal shroud around the fan. It looks really good. Going to this side, we have the CR Touch for our bed leveling and end stop switch, and our parts cooling fan here. Going this way, we have the end stop switch for the X. Everything is covered up so you can't see, but you can take this cover off if you want to see your belt on the pulley. And same thing on this side, it's all covered up. And this is where we adjust the X-axis belt. Going down to our bed, we have a pretty large PEI steel sheet that's magnetic and it is flexible. And I really love this material as it works great. And we have a tab here that we can pull it up. Very nice. So it's kind of like this reflection finish on one side and PEI on the other. And yeah, it looks great. And on the ends, you guys can see there's like little cutouts. And those actually line up with those bolts in the back. So when you put it in, you just butt it against them and then you set it down and you get it perfect every time. Very nice attention to detail. I love that. So we got the PEI sheet, the magnetic mat, and then the aluminum heated bed part. And also it is insulated, as you guys can see underneath. So yeah, that's great for this size. We have nice quality orange springs and aluminum, very large adjustable knobs. So yeah, very nice high quality everything here. And if we look at the bed frame, it's also very thick and quite unique looking. And you guys can see there underneath our rollers and our adjustable eccentric nuts. So again, the bed rolls around these 2 smaller channels, and this is where you adjust the Y belt. Here we have a bunch of stickers, warnings, certifications, and a QR code, Wi-Fi compatible, so you should be able to control it remotely. Going to the front, we got this nice large touchscreen display. Let's go ahead and pull the protector off, and it's orientated in this horizontal position, and I like how it integrates here on the side. And beside that, we have the full-size SD card slot, and this is where you can bring in the files to the printer. And going more this way, we have our storage, which is awesome because it's quite large. And not only that, it's actually organized with all of the parts that came with the printer. So if you wanted more room, you can just take the foam out and just throw everything in and you'll fit a lot more in there. But yeah, very cool. Love this little storage here. And by the way, it is magnetic. There's a piece of magnet there on the back that magnetizes to the end that locks it in. So yeah, a lot of nice little details. Also, I love the angular design. And not to mention how low the profile is, considering how large this printer is. And we can see our little rubber foot there. There's 4 of them on each corner. And if we go to the side of the screen, we can see here we have what appears to be a USB Type-C port, a USB port that appears to be compatible with the camera, our Ethernet port, and then our smart power on button. And that's pretty much it for this side. Yeah, this printer is quite nice and just feels very premium. It kind of feels like if someone really tried to design something and they kind of took their time, this what would come out, because everything is pretty thought through, it seems like, on this machine, including a lot of metal parts, just high quality pieces, and it just feels really premium. So for the next part, let's go ahead and plug it in, power it on, preheat everything, home it, and level the bed. All right, so I got the printer plugged in the back. Let's go ahead and hit the power switch. And nothing happens because we have another switch we need to hit here on the side, if you guys remember. So I'm going to go ahead and hit that. Okay, you got to hold it for a second and it all comes on. There's a lot of clicking and we can see the display here. Wow, there it goes. And our light came on from the top, which is quite bright and on the warmer side. So we're going to look at the display here in a second. Let's go ahead and click on ready and we'll home the X and Y. There goes the X and the Y. And by the way, the printer is very quiet. Now we'll do the Z. So it's going to use the CR Touch here to probe. Alright, so all of our axes work. So on the bottom here we got manual. If we click on that, we have a preheat PLA option. So it's going to heat up the nozzle to 200 and the bed to 60. Let's go back to home. So as it's heating up, a fan popped on and got a little louder. And it's actually the heat break fan. So that's nice that that actually turns off when the nozzle cools off. Alright, so let's go ahead and do our bed leveling. So we're going to hit on settings and there's going to be a level button. And so the way this works is first you manually level the bed and then we do the automatic bed leveling, which will take a bunch of measurements around the bed and store them and then compensate as it's moving around and printing. So the AUX is manual and then we got auto leveling there. So let's go ahead and click on number 2, which will take us to this corner here. And I'm going to grab this sheet that was included. And what we're going to do is we're just going to set the gap here and have a little slight drag between the nozzle and the bed with this paper. So now we go to this corner. I love these large aluminum knobs. They feel really good. We'll go to that back corner. And by the way, I didn't mention this, but if your knobs are not run down all the way, you should probably do that first so you can kind of go up from there. All right, let's go to that other corner. So because this bed is quite large, as we change one corner, the others kind of change. So we have to go around at least 3 times. But normally 3 is more than enough, as the CR Touch will compensate everything else. And honestly, this thing is leveling out really nice. Okay, so we're now too tight here. All right. And also you do want to be preheated on the bed. And I go ahead and preheat the nozzle too. So yeah, we're doing really good here. This is our 3rd pass and it's feeling pretty much perfect. Yep. Very, very slight adjustment. Yep. All right, well, let's go to the center now by clicking on 1 and we'll see how that looks. And it's a little bit less drag here. And what we can do is use this Z-axis offset to go up and down. So it's already negative 2.51 and we can kind of go down from there a little bit. There we go. I'm starting to get a slight drag. So I got it to negative 2.60. So yeah. And now it's pretty much perfect all the way around. So it is going to be a little tighter on the edges than it is the middle, but that's not a problem because we're about to do outer bed leveling and it's going to measure it all out and then compensate where it should be perfect no matter where it is. So let's click on auto level and we're going to click on start. And there it goes. All right, so it's doing 5 across and it's double tapping. And so it's going to be 5 times 5, which is 25 points. And actually down here, if you guys can maybe see, we do have a mesh layout of all the squares, which I guess are 25 points that it measures. And it says that it's 44% done. And that completes the whole process of leveling the bed. So yeah, let's go ahead and take a closer look at the UI. Alright, so this is what the screen looks like. So the resolution is very good. I can't even see the pixel density at all with my eyes. So we're at the home page and we have these main buttons here on the side. On the very top here on the right, we have a Wi-Fi icon that's on. Then we have the nozzle temperature and target, bed temperature target, the overall speed of the printer, and then the Z-axis offset. And then on the very bottom, we got a stop and play button. So under print, this is going to read our SD card, and there's nothing here because we don't have it plugged in. Under ready, we got 3 choices: axis move, in and out, and manual. So under axis move, we can home the printer and move the axes individually and the amount here on top. On in and out, this is going to be our extruder control, and you can also control your nozzle temperature here. And in manual, we can adjust our nozzle temperature, bed temperature, preheat PLA, preheat ABS, cooling, which is going to cool everything down, and fan control. So it turns on the fan here. So, and these will preheat, and the nozzle temperature and bed, you just click on it and enter what you want. So pretty straightforward. Let's go to settings. So here we have PLA settings, so you can set the temperature you want it to preheat at. And also for ABS, this is where we clicked on level and leveled our bed manually, and then out of bed leveling, Z-axis offset. Then we have our light on and off, and that's coming from the top down. We also have power off here and language, and these are all the languages you can choose from. Advanced setting, we got restore network, restore all, movement, temp PIDs, Wi-Fi is on, run out sensor is on, so you can, turn that on and off. Also the Wi-Fi on and off. And about, we have everything about the printer. So yeah, pretty intuitive here and a very nice display. So if we click the off button, it's going to ask us to shut it down. So you can shut it down like this. And this is great because this can be software used to turn it off. So we're not going to do that right now. I'll click on no and we'll go back to home. So let's go ahead and preheat PLA. And we'll go ahead and put our filament in, and I'm going to use my own roll. So let's snip the end of the filament on an angle, and it'll sit right on the spool holder. And I love the spool holder as it has its own bearing. And then we're going to go through the filament detector, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys can see maybe or not, but it does light up blue on the inside, and then down to the extruder. And so all we got to do is just push on the lever here and feed it down all the way. So you can push it down yourself, which is not hard at all, and it's going to purge out the bottom. Or you can click on in and out, and then we'll click on in, let's say 15 millimeters, and now it's going to purge it that much. So yeah, but it's easy enough just to push it down yourself. Grab these snippers. We got a pretty big blob under there now, and everything we purged. All right, so we checked everything, leveled the bed, preheated the nozzle, ran our filament through. Let's go ahead and grab this full-size SD card that came with the printer and plug it in here in the slot, and it goes upside down. We'll click on print, and we can see there's a couple files on here. So it looks like folders, and we have rabbits, flower pot, and candy. So I guess we'll start with rabbit. Well, actually, let's do candy since we have red filament. Maybe makes more sense. So I'm gonna click on that, and it loads up the candy file, and now we have to push play, and it starts. So I'm gonna click on the Z-axis offset here and compensate if needed, up or down. So right off the bat, it looks perfect, which I don't know if I'm impressed or not, because I was expecting it, as Creality printers always seem to work for me very well. Okay, so we're a little high, so let's go down. Now I'm not sure if this print is sliced maybe kind of high, so I am going down quite a bit. Alright, so yeah, now I'm really happy. It looks perfect. It should be compensating a little bit, which I can feel the back motors here moving just ever so slightly, so I guess it's already pretty close. So yeah, very nice. So this is what we see while we're printing. We got the file name up there. The progress circle is at 1%, and it's been 3 minutes since we started. And here we have the same information that's always there. So when you're printing, you can't choose anything on this side, but if you click on any of these parameters here, it's going to take you to another menu. So you can adjust your nozzle, bed temperature, print speed, fan control, the light on and off. We got auto off function here, which is off. So once it's done, it's going to turn off the printer. We have this compensation. The run out sensor, you can turn that on and off, which is the filament detector. And then also we have power outage on and off, which is super cool because we will need to turn this off when we're printing in spiralize mode. So yeah, everything's there that you need while you're printing. So I'm happy to report that the printer is on the quieter side, and most of the noise is just fan sounds, and it's more of a airflow sound and nothing obnoxious. So yeah, quite a pleasant sound. I'm gonna bring my mic in. So yeah, you can have this thing around you and not be annoyed by it too much, as the steppers are very quiet overall. So whatever it's printing, it seems to be pretty large. I think it's a brim that it's doing right now, because it just keeps going in a circle, smaller and smaller. And yeah, we'll let this thing print out and we'll see what comes out. Alright, so the candy file was actually a spiralized print. That's kind of like a bowl that you put candy in. Was not expecting that, but yeah, I guess we went straight to spiralized mode. And there was a little issue, but that's not the printer's fault, as the power recovery mode is on by default. And obviously that doesn't work well with spiralized mode. And so there were some pauses, and we're going to see that in a second. But let's go ahead and test out how easy we can pull this thing off. So not hard at all, as I heard it kind of pop off already. So wow. Yeah, man, these things are just so awesome. Like, I've been enjoying these PEI build plates, especially from more higher end brands, as they seem to have a better material and it just works beautifully. And so that's what our bottom looks like. And we do have a brim that I guess we could try to peel, but I'm just gonna leave it on there for now. What I really want to show you are these gaps there, and you can kind of see them from the inside also. So the nozzle actually paused, and so it kind of made little blobs, and then after the pause it started, it actually didn't extrude right away either, so there's like actual gaps. And what caused that was the recovery being on, and so when I turned it off, we were just smooth printing all the way up from there. So yeah, and as far as the print quality, it looks perfect, and you know, I wasn't honestly expecting anything less from this machine. Now there are a couple more files that we can print in here, which is a rabbit and flower pot. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that just out of curiosity. Alright, so we printed the other two prints, and yeah, one of them was this little rabbit and the other this vase, which is also in spiralized mode. So let's check out the rabbit first. There is a brim on the bottom, should come off pretty easy, but yeah, usually brims help the print stick to the plate, but in this case it doesn't really need it. But I guess it's just for caution, they added it to make sure if you don't have your level perfect, it'll still all stick. So we get the little crinkle look underneath, and white's a little hard to see, but yeah, just as expected, the layers are sitting beautifully and everything looks very consistent and pretty smooth. We got a tiny bit of stringing, but very, very minor, and pretty much perfection here, guys, which again is expected. So here we have another vase. It's also on a brim, and it's still stuck on there. It's actually stuck pretty good. Let's see if I can wobble it around. Yeah, probably need to flex it. So this is a matte filament, and it's a lot more gummy and sticky, but it still popped off really good, as you guys can see. And again, we got the brim. I guess we'll go ahead and pop that off. So to be honest, I don't really like this matte filament. It does look relatively nice, as it's nice shiny, but it tends to be more gummy and harder to print, and just doesn't sit as nice or even. And you can kind of see there's some layering here and there. There we go. So it's just more inconsistent, the filament itself. But yeah, I mean, still though, it looks really, really good, and did a great job here on spiralized mode. And it's pretty strong, pretty cool. And this is a vase here, I guess to put some flowers in or something. So yeah, as far as the prints that came with the printer, they all turned out good, and it prints great out of the box.